fertilizers, and so on to be able to sustain your business. One of the important things you also need to do is continually improve on the farmland. This kind of capital improvements can help you boost the value of the business in terms of efficiency, product quality. Today, we are talking about the health and consciousness and safety measures of the consumer. So traceability issues are very key. So, but again, when you're doing all those improvements, try to showcase them, because that is what the lender will also want to see. Another way you must think is that marketing your products, market penetration activities correlate to hosting of the websites that you need. Another thing is taking up an insurance. We talked about insurance yesterday extensively, what you should do, because against unforeseen insurable disasters, you have to invest in the right technology. So invest in growth. Expanding the operations requires some form of financing. Sometimes you might even want to refinance an old loan that you already have that is more high interest bearing, and then you have opportunity for intervention funds. These options are not usually very common, but could happen under special intervention programs of the federal government, under the Central Bank of Nigeria, like the Anko Boras program that we have also talked about, and various interventions with the state governments, wherein they put in some monies and then funds are usually very matched together. As a crisis buffer, you need money to a fallback position. So with adequate and right financing, the business is better prepared for the uncertainties and the lean periods. Her Excellency mentioned that. So the question is, when is it the right time to actually access loans? From the above, it is clear that loans can be accessed at different stages and for different purposes in agricultural activities. Therefore, judging whether it is the right time to get a loan is not a straightforward answer. It's intertwined, and it requires thorough understanding of the type of loan at each level of agri activity. It can be said that all times are right. For me, every time is right, depending on what time you are prepared and what you want to do and what you want to start. But the essential thing is to continually grow a robust cash flow for a successful business that will so attract the investor. At this point is equity or debt decisions. We have identified application of funds, but let us look briefly at the sources of the funds. So how does a company decide whether to fund a business through equity or through debt? Because there are just two sources, whether you are raising money from your family or friends or from the savings, or you're selling up a stake of your company. So if you're taking up a debt, which is very good, when you take out a debt, I would like to say you expect three results. Owing the lender a fixed amount of money payable at predetermined dates per installments. Interest expenses are not taxable, and then you don't give up the control of your actual management of your company. So it is good for you to take a loan. But peradventure, you also need to consider growing your company organically. You maybe through investor, setting up a stake of your business. You know that you own your investor. If you realize profits, that's dividends must be paid. And these dividends are not tax deductible. Your investors will likely have a say in your management. So if you're using equity, what do you get? You get less burden, no loan to repay, credit issues are gone, no analysis of credit worthiness, and the poor or lack of credit history is not necessarily analyzed. Funds could be more suitable, and then learn and gain from partners. But again, these are the things that your lenders will also look at for: good credit history, credit worthiness. And then the last thing is that you can get monies from through grants. So, but if you decide to raise money through grants, just know at the back of your mind that they are not easily accessible. So whichever points or whichever options you choose, ensure that the funding models are geared towards medium and long-term investment opportunities. So therefore, we have talked about what we need. So following those tips will assist you recognizing when it makes sense to actually get an agri loan. But I'd like to say you identify areas that are consistently profitable in your business, in the agri space. It's not just enough to take money. The key thing here is taking on the debt is funding already what is proven to be working, and you continually improve on it. Magnify what is going well for you in your agri space. So one example is that if you're looking to purchasing a piece of equipment that can manufacture or process quickly with precision, with predictable outcomes, then it is a worthwhile investment. Be selective in the depth that you want to take. That's one important thing. If it is not worthwhile the opportunity, that it cannot wait, or if it can wait, you don't necessarily have to take a debt. But traditional banks can be difficult to obtain debt because of prolonged documentation as well as high threshold that is set for agri farmers. Most importantly, fund seekers are also sometimes ill-prepared for the requirements to support their applications. So let's look at the few things that you might need as part of the due diligence processes. Have a bankable business proposal, ensure payments of business and personal tax returns are current, have a business and personal bank bank statements, have business financial system statements, pro forma invoices for the things that you have to buy. Let's quickly look at the types of loans that you might be interested in. Instrumental loans, loans that enables you to pay in bits, in principal and interest. Very ideal because you can plan and align the instrumental loans to the period of the agri when you are harvesting, or when you're ready to get into the market. Lines of credit gives you a full approval as to how your credit limit is, and you take them gradually as you pay back, and then you continue to increase. Or you take a loan that gives you the opportunity to pay back in bullets, everything at the same time at the end of the season. Secured loans, your company has low credit rating. If you have a low credit rating, you might just either secured or unsecured loans. They give you better rates. Your company may seek a secured loan, and by this, the lender will have a piece of collateral. You need a collateral for secured loans. You also have term loans, which are short, medium, or long. They are time bound and could be repaid in months, year, or more. Then accounts receivable, just short-term overdrafts when you have accounts receivable waiting. I've added here easy steps to pay back loans, because a lot of people don't want to take loans because of the challenges of paying back their loans. So my suggestions are pay more than the minimum installment that is given to you by your lenders. Sometimes it could be an extra 1,000 naira on a 100,000 naira loan. It can make a whole lot of difference. Watch your costs while you're in agribusiness, because agribusiness expects you to be applying back monies at various times when you are in business. So you need everything, but you can't just afford everything. So do things gradually and watching your costs. Pay off the most expensive loans first. When you have loans in agribusiness, watch the most expensive ones first and pay those ones. But do not say you are not going to pay the loans consistently. Pay something. If you have 3 loans, just pay consistently in the basket. Look at the basket and pay the most expensive ones first. Then focus on the next expensive ones. Then the next thing I would like to say, adopt a snowball method. This is a different variation to paying the most expensive debt strategy. Loan is paid off in order from the smallest to the largest, gaining a momentum for each loan balance. Then I'd like to also say, buy a quality used car rather than a new one, because people feel that when you're in agribusiness, you want to show yourself. Like I said, you don't need to expend so much money. Get a car that is easy to maintain, affordable spare parts, that is rugged for you to get some sort of farm. It could be a big, maybe a truck or a Hilux or something, but not necessarily a Prado just because you want to be, you're a successful agri person. Get an alternative revenue source so that you can convert parts of the places that you are not using in your home. Consolidate your loans is also very important. If you can consolidate your loans so that you can have a budget as to how you want to pay back. So consider being one house, just one car household. Don't buy too many cars in your home, and because you just need lots of facilities and all that to showcase that you are already a successful farmer. So I think I will stop at this point, and I want to thank you. I want to thank the farmer just because I've had a meal today. Thank you very much.
Wow, thank you so much. Amazing, amazing. I just hope all our listeners have really absorbed this extraordinary information because it's so, so valuable. I mean, just few things. Cash is king. You need collateral. There's never, the thing about the right time for, going for debt, there is no such thing. You have to know your business and you have to know your own, you have to know your business and you have to know your needs. The different sources of funding, equity, I use the expression 3Fs, family, fools, and friends are the first people that you go to for those kinds of funding. But also equity comes with its own terms and conditions. I think debt is there is an opportunity, and particularly, I'm sure, Mrs. Khalifa, you would agree that as Africa unleashes more and more startups and entrepreneurs, that the financial institutions' mindsets have also got to change to embrace this extraordinary entrepreneurial ingenuity, creativity, and energy in the agricultural sector, but also in the other sectors. And maybe, in the Q&A, we can also look at, what is it that the financiers, the SME financiers need to do to better understand the needs and concerns of agri-entrepreneurs. I think in terms of, I think the key point that you say is there's, whenever you take a loan from an institution, you must also have a repayment plan. And that repayment plan must be well thought through. And absolutely is one of the things I used to say when we would only give $5,000 as a seed capital was, please use this wisely. Do not go off and buy another car or a second wife. This is to build your business and invest in your business. With that, we'll be coming back to you, Mrs. Khalifa, with other questions, certainly from our participants. But I'd like to turn to my dear friend, Peter Ashade. Peter, it's so lovely to see you, having spent 5 years with you in Nigeria. And thank you so much for supporting. Well, I was quite surprised, actually, that you accepted to speak to our the Africa Farmer Stories and the Support for African SMEs, thinking this is United Capital. I thought this guy, you'd have to be talking about lots and lots of money, big dollars, for you to even get out of bed. But here you are on a Sunday afternoon, ready to talk to startups, small, medium, and I hope, high growth companies that have, high growth agri entrepreneurs who are listening in on, listening to you and Mrs. Khalifa talk about the funding opportunities for them. So, Peter, you have just over 10 minutes to please share your thoughts and your dollars.
Thank you so much, Parminder, and it's again a pleasure meeting you again. It's wonderful having you organize this. First, let me thanks so dearly Her Excellency Dr. Mrs. Olufolake Abdulrazak. We have few of your type in Nigeria at your level that you are really interested. I could see how passionately you presented your thought. It's indeed delighting to see that, yes, agriculture is coming to limelight, not only at the federal level in Nigeria, but even at the state level. I indeed commend you so much, Ma. Thank you so much for this. Also, I want to thank the African Farmer Stories for putting together this, and the co-founder Support for Africa SME is very key. Permit me quickly to share my screen so that I'll be able to set. For me, it's about setting the tone for this presentation before the. I know Q&A followed before the Q&A, just setting the tone. And it's about raising the debt capital in agribusiness. But what I try to do here is to even talk about what are we really looking at here in terms of that when it talks of Africa and across the world, as highlighted by Mrs. Lolo, you discover that is the key emerging market driver as far as the African landscape is concerned. It's a major contributor across key emerging markets and a major facilitator of global trade. When we talk about the AFCFTA, is all about agri majorly, how we're going to collaborate across Africa region to share our booties in terms of the outlook. And when you see this, is quite instructive as you see the contribution to developing economy in terms of output, looking from Brazil to India and to Russia. You'll see that gradually this is quite picking up from the available data as of 2019. You have in Brazil is agricultural output contribution to GDP as was 4.4%. When you look at India, 15.9%, Nigeria 22.9%. You can see that this is clearly a deviation from what we have in the past. That means that gradually the attention is centering on the growth here. Again, when you see this, what I've tried to do here is to even narrow down to Nigeria to say, well, at certain time in Nigeria, we were in recession until recently, yesterday, in second recession, as based on our new GDP outlook. But when you look at the Nigeria agricultural sector, annual growth has outpaced the national GDP growth in the last 5 years, even during 2006 recession. And this can, it clearly shows here, you see from 2014 to 2019, that regardless of even at 2016, when we had a recession, our GDP was down by minus 1.6%. Agri still contributed 4.1%. So that shows that it's a sector that is key to the growth and development across Africa. And it beholds that key attention has to be, placed on this. And so what I try to look at here is the contribution of agri sector in 2019 from crop production to fishery. You see in terms of crop production, which is key, as staple food we see today and all these things comes from crop production. And when you look at that, 88%, almost 90% of this speaks to this. And when you look at it in line with the Mrs. Lolo that said, when you look at the overall global growth in the population, there is a saying that no farmer, no nation. So that underscored the importance of agribusiness in the economic development. Here I've just, tried to have a simple agricultural value chain as it speaks to orange. And you can see from production to harvesting, processing, secondary processing, distribution and packaging, and wholesale. Across this value chain, we have different people that are playing roles. That creates a huge opportunity, even in terms of employment across board. So you could either take any of this value chain and operate there. You still have opportunity for debt financing. Again, so I try to look at the contribution of agri to Nigerian economy and see how the banks are supported. And this underscore our discussion today. Now, regardless of the fact that it's been attributed that agri is contributing up to 23% to the real GDP in 2019. But when you look at the support that was gotten from the bank, so what I have on the left-hand side is the distribution of the support from the financial sector to different sectors. And you will see that agri is just 4%, 4.3% precisely. And whereas oil and gas is getting up to 28%. You will see that in terms of this, and you're going to see in later slides why this is so, despite the sectorial contribution to GDP. And clearly you will see here why the funding gap, despite the huge contribution here. Nigeria has over 40 million small farmers, and over 90% of these farmers can't even access loan facilities, even from the commercial bank. And let's ask ourselves why. Number one, here you have short-term lending, because most of what you see within the financial sector, especially the money market, is a short-term funding, 90 days money, 180 days money, and 270 days money. And I don't think that is what agribusiness is all about. When we talk, we're talking here about patient capital. Patient capital going to 3, 5, 10, 2,500 years. So that the way the banks are structured is such that they are only interested in this high turnover facility. And that is why you see, even despite a lot of push from the CBN, that banks should lend to this sector, the bank has been very, very careful in terms of outlook and their outlook and exposure because a lot of NPL, non-performing loan could be generated from this. So they are very careful. And this, again, number one area. Number two, we talk about poor bookkeeping. This is prevalent. And when you see, this primitive mindset about farming is still very predominant. When you see what is happening, it's still very predominant. Why? Because people still feel farmer, and this is a different ballgame entirely. We are talking about agribusiness here that is run the same way a bank should be run. So you will not say because you're a farmer, you will now run it wrong. No. The same way a bank will run, a manufacturing setting will run, that is the way you run as a farmer. You see agribusiness as a normal business, just like any other business, and you can run. So in terms of bookkeeping, is always in most cases you see very poor, and most of these information are needed before any loan is being processed. They want to see your previous account, even if you want to go to the capital market that can give both medium and long-term funding that we're even looking at. Your bookkeeping must be, past the litmus test of accuracy. Again, we talk of unstructured value chain. I know we talked about value chain earlier, but what you see is a lack of proper structure across value chain. Where are you taking which point? So you can get point A very well and will fail in point B. So at the end of the day, even if you want to play in all the value chain, you want to identify where you want to play. But if you get it wrong along the value chain, you can lose everything that you have there. The other one talks about poor harvest losses. That is inability of stakeholders to create an efficient system to tackle post-harvest losses. If you know the quantum of losses that we have in every year in, year out, is it from oranges, tomatoes, from bananas, plantain, and all this, because we are yet to get to a level whereby we can create a storage model to take care of this. So a lot of post-harvest losses emanate from this, and these are funds going down the drain. And all this really matters until when we start placing importance on all these key areas. It's quite going to be very equivalent to really pass the expectation as far as the lender is expecting from us. Lack of expertise, most of the banks, they lack the, yes, now we have most of the bank now having Agridesk. Before now, yes, they might have the Agridesk, but ask ourselves to how much is the lending along this corridor or sector contributing to the overall profitability of the bank? Quite very low. But now you see some banks that are really coming up there and developing their skill in this area. And here I want to talk about the key factor to be considered, even if you want in-depth raising. So it is not a matter of I have a farm. Lovely, the presentation of Ms. Lolo. You want to see now you want to consider some key facts. Number one is production and yield risk. There is risk. Every business has its own risk. You must identify key risk in the area of agribusiness you are playing. Is it crop? Is it animal husbandry? So you want to play it out. You must be able to, and that is why we talked about data analytics. The current digital age that we find ourselves play a very key role even in agribusiness. Data analytics now come to play so that you'll be able to analyze your data very well, the trend, analyze where you have the risk and be able to manage it. Market volatility and price risk. You see these days, I haven't spent a lot of money. The middlemen are really milking the whole thing that you see, and an agribusiness will put into that. The middlemen that will not even put anything, they will just come and buy from you, mark it up, and make all the profit. Whereas the farmer will put in everything from scratch to that level. So you must play a very key role in determining your market so that you will be able to, because it determines the velocity of your cash availability and ability to influence price, such that you will not at most time be selling at below your cost price. Adequate and accurate financial record. I cannot overemphasize this. I've talked about it earlier. If your financial record is not, nobody will touch your business because it is very key. You must be able to analyze where you are coming from, where you are, and your growth potential, and that you have that. Government policies. How does government policy help in this area? It's quite very, very key because these are key consideration. And that is why you see most government across Africa, they are now placing premium on agribusiness. A lot of intervention at the federal level, even in some at the state level, to ensure that at least we're able to boost this. Interest rate on loan, and thanks to the federal government of Nigeria, there are a couple of intervention funds that's been out at very low rates, some at 5%, 9%, to ensure that they're able to support. Because if you guys not take it, if you go and get, from the money market, you get a 20%, 25% loan, that becomes very hard for you even to pay back. Ease of loan repayment in terms of, and this is why a lot of intervention that has been on play a very key role. You can have some sort of intervention as it were today. We have some government intervention that will give you even 1 year moratorium. Some will give you 6 months moratorium, and they could, say 3 years and even 5 years in some cases. So this is very, very critical. Last, you talk about loan collateral. This area is key, also very, very key. And you can achieve this by having adequate record, about your assets. Things that you're going to, because when you come, fine, the bank will assess your business, but you must have a collateral to put that. All your tractors could be handy, the CFO of your land could be handy, your other farm implement could be handy, but you must keep proper record of date of acquisition, the cost, and all those things. It becomes very, very relevant by the time your farm is being assessed for debt raising. Here, I will not take much of a time because I have 10 minutes, and I think I should be up now. We talk about typical agribusiness debt financing component. We can look at working capital. This speaks to LPO financing, seed, fertilizer purchase, farm input, and all that. Talks about warehouse receipt financing too. Talks about asset financing. These are critical, different area. Crop loan, you require loan for input to your crops, and even during harvesting and all this. Also, you have trade finance. Yes, you have that, transacting either outside the shore of the land, and what you need to do. That talks about pro forma contract, guarantees, invoice discounting, pre-shipment, and pre-shipment financing. All these are very critical in terms of different debt financing components that can really come. These are different that have different pockets of requirements that you need to put in place. And here I've highlighted the agricultural value chain that could happen, and each of the facilities that you can see along each of this line. On this note, I want to thank you for the audience. Thank you.
Peter, thank you so much, but can you put your last slide back again? The agri value chain financing. Because I think because that was going to be one of my questions, which is which bit of absolutely on the value chain, which of part of the value chain would you say is, I don't know, is there such thing as, is the most useful, I guess, not the easiest, but the most useful in terms of accessing debt financing?
Yes, in terms of, sorry, go ahead.
No, go. In this extraordinary slide, everybody, you will receive copies of the presentation, but I would really urge you all to study this particular slide.
It's okay, thank you.
So which aspect of the value chain would you say is, in terms of debt financing, is the most useful?
Yes, it depends on, so when you're looking at that, a great question. But the part in the value chain is dependent on the state of your agribusiness. We have some that are the infancy, you're just starting. You can't compare to someone that has been in agribusiness for like 5 years. So what you require then could be asset financing. I'm just starting, maybe, I will need like something like a working capital to really start something, or maybe crop financing for me to start. So it is a function of the debt financing you are looking for. Is a function of, one, the sector within the agribusiness you are playing. Two, your level, the number of years. So whether you are just starting or you have been in the business, you have grown for a certain period. But one thing that is critical and that cut across every key areas when you talk about agribusiness, you talk about working capital, because regardless of, even if you have asset finance, you have like self-financing, you still need some sort of working capital by the side to take care of your day-to-day activities. And you discover that even in most of these, the agribusiness, you discover that if you have access to working capital, for instance, if I give you in poultry business, you see today, if you really must make an impact in that space, you must have a working capital to enable you tie down, the raw materials that you're going to use for, a considerable number of time, either 6 months or 1 year. So if you have that in place, what that will help you to do is to really be able to stabilize your cost of production. So that when you have that, so even if the cost of maize, the cost of soya, the cost of every other wheat or that will move within the year, because you've been able to get a working capital to tie some of this down at the low price when there is availability or the harvesting period, that will enable you, get above your peers as far as the market is concerned. But by and large, it's a function of where you are in the life cycle of your business.
I guess I want to bring Mrs. Khadifa into this discussion. I wonder if you can unmute yourself.
It's okay.
Mrs. Khadifa,
All right.
Great.
I'm here.
One of the thank you so much, Peter. But one of the things is, as agri-entrepreneurs, I think the point that I'm also trying to get at is there is a value chain. There's production, there is the inputs, there's the equipment, there's also the distribution and sales. In terms of advising agri-entrepreneurs who are either starting, who are also thinking of scaling, which aspects of these value chains would you say are the most, financially lucrative?
Is that my question, Paminda?
Yeah.
Okay, fine, thank you. I did say in my presentation that it depends on one's interests and depends on your experience, your capacity, your knowledge, and your location. There are so many of these factors. For agriculture, I did say it's a process. For some people, it is easy for them to be commodity merchants and learn through the ropes. You look at go to the farm gate, know when to buy the commodity, have appropriate storage, but be particular that every commodity has its peculiarity in terms of storage and in terms of the time to dispose of them. So you need to also understand the market dynamics. So my answer will not be there's a particular best fit answer for this question. For people that want to produce vegetables, for instance, vegetables in the next 2-3 months, they've cultivated, it's sold, and the next layers of farm is reached, it's planted again. That's the turnover. Some people will be looking for turnover, but I like to say for the bankers, they always want to see traction in the sense that your experience in this particular business has proven. And I did mention in my presentation, concentrate on things that have been working for you and expand on them. Don't be master of everything jack of all trades and master of nothing. In agriculture, I always insist on specialization is very key. So that aspect that you want to start marketing the agricultural commodities, it could be rice, you're a specialist in paddy, what kind of paddy, what's the moisture content of paddy, how do you store the paddy, who is the off-taker, and all that. The next thing you might need to also graduate that, yes, I've mastered collecting paddy at the farm gate, drying it, a particular process and all that. I'd like to just start by buying maybe a destoner and attaching my destoner to a rice miller, and I take my paddy, mill my rice for me, and take away the stone. Before next, you say, okay, I've gotten this well done. I want to have sorter so that my rice will come out the same way as it is looking in the eye of an imported one. So the colorations are not there. You go again further, you want to polish your rice. So it's a gradual process. That's why I said in agriculture, funding is a continuum. So you can't specifically say which is the most attractive. It is a process, and that process must be well understood by who is going to borrow money from a lender, because the lender is sitting from the perspective of risk and analyzing its risk one step all across the way. So if you take a particular commodity, for instance, master the intricacies and all the risk elements, market elements, production elements in that particular sector. So, and attach yourself to a mentor. It's very, very key. Understudy somebody who is already a specialist in that particular field. And then it doesn't take anything. It's in fact, it's more financially wasting for you to say you want to go alone. I did mention in my presentation, it is a sector that has to be a collaboration. Even if you're going to buy inputs from people, you want to know the right inputs, you want to know the right pesticides, you want to know the right seeds. You don't want to go to the market and buy spent seeds. You want to know the high yielding seeds. And those things come with change in technology over time. So a seed that works in, say, a place in Jigawa may not necessarily work in Ogun State. So you need to know even the soil composition as to what works. And it's by attaching yourself to a mentor and get the basic training. So there's no particular value chain that I will say that it's most lucrative. It depends on experience, the interest, your commitment, and capacity.
Khalifa, thank you so much, Mrs. Khalifa. I'm going to now turn to some of the questions that the participants are leaving on in Q&A. And I noticed that we are now 6 minutes over 1 hour, but I hope that we can continue because it's such a rich subject. And we've got two people with such an enormous wealth of knowledge. So this is a question to Peter. This is all around banks, of course. Do banks have adequate data? I mean, you said the funding gap, and you mentioned the lack of expertise by the bank experts. Do banks have adequate data and comparison tools to distinguish successful farmers from less successful farmers? From Franz de Jong. This is a question. Peter.
Well, thank you so much, Frank. Thank you. So when you talk about data, data is a major issue across sectors you have in Nigeria, not only in agribusiness. In fact, in Africa generally, data, even within the banking sector itself, we still have data issue. Not to even talk about the agribusiness. I can tell you, with the way things are structured now, well, maybe now we're evolving in agribusiness, focus both at the federal level and the state level. The private sector is becoming heightened. Possibly in the next 4, 5, 6 years to come, this will be addressed. But I can tell you there is a serious gap on ground now to the banks. However, so when you now talk about available data to enable the banks know who to give facility or not, in my presentation, I talk about keeping adequate and complete record. Keeping adequate and complete record, regardless of where you are in the life cycle of your business. Either you are the infancy or you have grown, fully matured, you must, on your own, keep relevant data about your operations. So that even when you get to a bank and you're saying, yes, this is my business, you'll be able to give data. It is based on this data that we are giving the bank that they're going to analyze you. You could just imagine having run your agribusiness for like 5, 6 years, and you are approaching a bank to take a facility, and you're able to give them your audited statement for the 6 years that is going to talk about your activities. That means that you have even gone 50% into the requirement, because they will be able, from your audited financial statement, they will be able to pick some data that relates to your business to analyze. And that can give them a flavor of where they should position in terms of whether to advance facility debt to support your business or not.
Thank you so much, Peter. I'm going to come back to you with another question from a participant, but before I do, I also have a question for Mrs. Khadifa, which is really, this is again information. One of the things that you seem to, you're a custodian of an enormous amount of experience and information. A question is, what tools or institutions exist to guide agribusinesses that want to use debt financing to raise funds? I mean, I think they're looking for, literally, who can guide them, where is it? Like in fact, like the Educase People Support Center is an example of that, where people can go to really inform themselves, so before they come to people like yourself and Peter for a loan.
Amina, thank you once again. I think the information for where funds are actually available are very versatile, and it depends on the information seeker. But permit me to say, let me bring it back to the institution where I work,
Yeah.
Which is Bank of Industry. Before I moved on to leasing, Bank of Industry has a very robust website, and the various fund types are also hosted thereon. The interest rates are also hosted. The sectors are also identified thereon. And particularly, the bank has taken a step further in putting together business advisory service providers, and who are ready to put your business proposal, your business models together in very bankable manner. So But the particular thing that you might require as a borrower is the basic information, because there are few due diligence requirements. Where is your location, for instance? The address is very necessary. What kind of product do you want to do? Why do you want to, what's your experience in that product? So such questions will also guide the business advisory providers to make the business proposals bankable. You cannot walk into it, no matter how much somebody wants to assist you, you also need to provide that basic information, because that is your company even registered? Even if it is not a company, is it an enterprise? Even if it's not an enterprise, is it a cooperative society, or are you a member of a cooperative society, and all that? Yeah, how much loan do you want to get? Why do you want to get this amount of loan? What are the kind of pro forma invoices? I did mention that you need to find maybe a few pro forma invoices attached to support your application. Where do you want to buy this equipment? What are the capacities of this equipment? This information must come from you. It's not from the business advisor services. So in Bank of Industry, like I did say now, it's that the website is very robust. You will get everything on that website, and everything is online. You can fill your forms online and get monies online and work across the 27 branches across the country. So I guess I think with that information, people can access facilities. Central Bank also has a very robust site and the kind of funds that they already also have. For the commercial banks, yes, they also awash with funds looking for where to deposit it, but they will not throw their monies away. Just don't forget that the monies that are sitting in the commercial banks are owned by you and I, and they are liable to make the monies available when you need them. So they will want to look at sectors that are highly productive, predictable returns on investment, so that when you come back as a fund owner in the commercial bank, they can actually comfortably tell you that yes, your monies have been deployed well, and they're making profits, and they're declaring dividends, and then you can slot your ATM on the cards and you can get your monies. So basically, be prepared specifically for the kind of business you want to do. Thank
Thank
you, ma'am.
you. You know, the participants who are listening and really see themselves as agri-entrepreneurs, you must avail yourself of all the extraordinary ecosystem for entrepreneurship development that exists across the continent. And I know for a fact, having lived and worked in this in Nigeria, there is so much information. You know, so in your state, in your city, in right across the 36 states in Nigeria, there are local incubators, accelerators, and hubs that that you can go to get that business advisory support service so that you can make some informed decisions before approaching institutions. And my other advice is also that if I was going to be looking for funds, I'd want to build relationships first. So it's really important that you begin to build relationships with the managers in banks and financial institutions, not with a view to asking for money immediately, but actually asking for information and support, because that probably is what you need more of than actual capital. Peter, I have one other question from a participant, and I'll go straight to McKenna's question, which is, my question is, do you think the CBN/FGN can deploy an alternative scheme to assist agribusinesses other than single-digit facilities? I think you will understand what she means by this. The country as a whole, for example, cannot assist smallholder tomato farmers with a facility like a public cold chain system. Peter?
Yeah,
Excuse
Pavan,
me.
sorry. Okay. I don't know. Should I answer the question?
No, that was for
Go ahead,
Peter.
go ahead. You want to answer the
Okay.
question?
I
So
didn't hear you well. Sorry.
Do you want me to repeat the question?
I'll be delighted.
Okay, but it's really a question that was addressed to Peter, so I'll repeat the question. Okay, So this is regarding, it's a question to Peter, and it's regarding the CBN FGN you mentioned in your presentation has incentives for agribusinesses like these single-digit intervention schemes. And the question was, can CBN FGN deploy an alternative scheme to assist agribusinesses other than single-digit facilities? The country as a whole, for example, cannot assist smallholder tomato farmers with a facility like a public cold chain system. Peter, I think, did you hear that question? No? Can you unmute yourself? Oh, okay.
Yes, I got the question. Maybe I will start and let Mrs. Lolo to take, in addition to some of the points that I'm going to raise. I know if you see what is happening in Nigeria now in terms of government's deliberate attempt to support the agribusiness, the agricultural sector, is quite very, very different from what used to have 5-10 years ago. And it's like a step at a time. I can tell you now we have some intervention that is, single digit. And I know, and which I will expect Ms. Lolo to, really talk about it from the BOI point of view. I know there are other interventions that are not really in terms of giving you cash. There are interventions that has to do with cropping and giving seedlings. We have fertilizers. We have in terms of tractors. We have several layers of different intervention at both the CBN level and the federal government level that are, carefully situated to attend to the needs of different farmers. The issue of anchor borrowers, when the anchor borrowers scheme came up, it was like bring all, within a particular locality, bring like 10, 15, 20 as the case, farmers together, will provide the seedlings for them, will provide the fertilizers for them, we even provide, they can rent a hire purchase for the tractor, they will farm, at the end of the day, we'll pick it, and we'll be able to sell it, we'll buy it from them at certain, these are different intervention from, the federal government and the CBN, and I think BOI too, you can have some of this intervention that speaks to this. So it is not only about come, take, you dig it, there are a couple of one, it's about information. If you are not aware of it, you wouldn't know that these are in place. But I know some couple of ones are in place as in addition to the single digit we're talking about. So I will allow, so you can, madam, you can, help us shed more light, giving your
from one banker to the next.
I think, Peter, you said it all. I think the right thing is to have your ears to the ground as to know where to pay your attention. The government of the day is very committed to diversifying the economy, and we all know that agriculture is the key tool to doing that. There are lots of collaborations. Federal African Development Bank is coming up. There are so many things like the agri-processing zones being established, land clearing opportunities, the seeds opportunities. Capacity building is very key, and I'm sure Bank of Industry has also embarked extensively on capacity building opportunities and windows in collaboration. We also, the banks also collaborate with the fund providers in trying to drive the low interests that we also need. And the loans are also few years longer than the normal commercial bank funds that you will get. So of recent, we had how 750 billion naira is being earmarked by the federal government through the central bank. So many sectors are being identified: cocoa, maize, rice. Rice has been on the front burner of the federal government, a lot had been done, had been deployed. Cotton had also been on the front burner in trying to do the cotton and textile intervention funds. So my advice is people can go into the central bank's website or NISAL website, Bank of Industry's website, and get as much information as would be needed to guide in the in the sources of funds and the type of funds that you need for a particular product. And it's so simplified now. The collateral, the asset collateral registry, it's very robust, and you can have just as small as maybe your television being there as a collateral security. It's even much more impressive now if you are in a cooperative and then you go to speak with one voice. The Anchor Borrowers program, it's a demonstration that has actually worked, and we'll see that, yes, it's expanding by the day. But one thing I always like to tell the farmers is that before you do a business, have an off-taker and aggregate within your community the type of products that will be needed by an off-taker. It could be maize, it could be rice, it could be soybeans, it could be sorghum. These are cash commodities that if in a community, it's well known for, I'm sure even the off-takers will locate you, but there are several windows for funding in Nigeria and in different institutions. Thank you.
I think we should be, oh, am I still here? Okay, I'm just gonna go and see if because the important thing is to respond to the questions. Haha, okay. That's interesting. I have one question which I can throw to both of you. In operating in the midstream or downstream, is it possible to be involved in 2 or more value chains? That is, of course, after mastering one. Peter, do you want to take this?
Thank you so much. Consistently, you've seen in our presentation, both of us, that we talked about, precision, specialization. Yes, we have long value chain across the agric structure, but you must, it's not jack of all trade here. That's where we always get it wrong. It's not about jack of all trade. You must specialize in a particular one. You can't know the end from the beginning when you get to a particular value chain, a particular one. A lot to be done there. A lot to be done. It depends on the more you want to know. The more you research, the more you collaborate, the more you have, we told about a mentor. You must have a mentor, the more you know. So it is about, if you want to do 2, 3, 4, it's about making money. It's about adding your own voice to the overall thing. So if you can do one and make the money you're going to make in doing 3, why do you want to do 3? And share your skills, share your funding and all this. Why can't you just concentrate on one and be leader in that and make your name, make your money, and make your impact across the world, which is key. However, if you're able to do that and you feel you are home and dry and you want to try another value chain, but one thing that is key you must have at the back of your mind, because if you go into a value chain that is totally different from the one you have strong specialty, it means you require a different skill entirely. That is starting from scratch, that for you to develop that. So you must be able to balance that. But by and large, what I would say is specialize in one, make the best of that, extract the whole value that you can, get from the existing one that you are. Thank you.
Mrs. Didi, would you like to add any?
Let me add to what Peter had just said. Yes, you could. provided that the value chains are interrelated. And I'll give you an example. Once they're interrelated, you can, and growing from one to another. And I'll give you an example of the poultry value chain, for instance. You could start by just producing the old chicks, and you sell the old chicks. You're already a specialist in the old chicks, but you want to take it a bit further to pullets. You want to take it a bit further to probably layers. And then you want to say, okay, I'm very good at this. I want to provide my own feeds in-house. And once I provide my fees, that will reduce the cost. I did say that if you're going to do a business, and provided that that business is worthwhile your investment and is going to bring about more productivity and sales, embark on it. You want to produce your feeds. Yes, you're sufficient in feeds, you're branding, because you know that the feeds you're going to produce are going to be in direct relationship with the type of birds you want to produce. Fine. Next step is that, okay, I'm very good. My farm is large enough now. I want to have dressed chicken. Yes, you need a different types of technology. That's why I say invest in technology. So the value chains must be interrelated. You have competent management, competent skill sets, and you yourself, who is the key driver, must have adequate knowledge of each of the value chains. And then each of the sectors, group the companies, let them be distinct in their own, in terms of management, in terms of finance, in terms of technology, in terms of trainings. And then they all come together to the boardroom and say, okay, we have a global company outlook, and this is where we want to be in 5 years' time. You give me these numbers, you give me those numbers. All you're trying to do is to put everything in one basket, but be more visible in the market, and then be known, and then you're feeding the population. That's, for me, it has to be well interrelated. But you cannot say you want to do palm oil, and then suddenly you want to jump from palm oil and you want to now start producing chicken, because you are all in the agricultural value chain. No, it doesn't work that way. My suggestion is that let the value chains sit, and then let them be interrelated to one another, and driving the process for efficiency and visibility and revenue.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Mrs. Khalifa. I need to just I just want, a big, big thank you. I'm not going to even attempt to summarize the last 1.5 hours of discussion. It's available on YouTube because it's being recorded, and also the presentations will be shared. I think my closing points, my heart is with the African entrepreneurs, African SMEs, African agri-entrepreneurs. And so my takeaway, and what I'd like to say to you as a result of this extraordinary 3 days and this panel, is that you must be the masters and mistresses of your own destiny. There's nothing that Africa lacks, nothing that Nigeria lacks, that prevents you from going and achieving your dreams. It's really important that you inform yourself. Research is the easiest, the cheapest form of self-education. It's really important that you find credible partners that you work with. And a point that's been stressed over and over again is you can't do it alone. Go find yourself some amazing mentors. None of us have got where we've got without those mentors. And to build capacity in terms of, developing your own business management, as well as, agricultural production knowledge, but also your business management skill, so that you're not only just a farmer, but you're a business farmer. With that, I'd like to thank you both, and thank you, Your Excellency, for hosting these extraordinary 3 days. We all look forward to coming to Kwara State, and I'd like to hand over to Victoria, the brains, the drive, the energy, the passion behind this, the African farmer stories, and these 3 extraordinary days of knowledge sharing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ma'am Permindia. Thank you so much. It's been an extraordinary 3 days listening to the varied speakers. And we're very glad that Her Excellency was kind enough to partner with the African Farmers Story to bring this amazing 3 days packed filled with information and knowledge for everyone in Africa and across the globe, seeing people from Switzerland, Netherlands, from India, from different continents join us in this 3 days webinar has been amazing. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. We are indeed grateful that your drive to impact not just women and youth alone, but to impact every human being that comes across your way. It is very, very outstanding. We're grateful that you do not look at just the size or the age of anyone, but you look at it's what is more important to you is the value that is served. We're glad that we've been able to serve value in collaboration with Educare Center, Support Center, and we look forward to many days ahead as we plan to impact more people in the agricultural sector. The idea for the African Farmers Story is to turn agriculture from the culture that we know it to be in the subsistent level into a business that will impact generations. My generation, the youth of today, are very eager to learn and to understand how to grow to become the next generation that will turn things around for the agricultural sector so we can have food security and self-sustainability as a continent. We are glad that you were able to join us in this campaign to ensure that more people across the continent are able to understand that knowledge and technology are inherent in Africa. And if we continue to look inward, we'll be able to blossom to be a continent that becomes enviable in the world. We believe that as we go forward, we will have partners, including United Capital and other partners like BOI Lecon that will collaborate with us and other government institutions across Africa to bring more impact to youths and women and other people in the agricultural sector. Thank you very much once again to all the wonderful hosts and the wonderful speakers. Mr. Shade, thank you very much for your time. I know that I practically muzzled you in. I am very grateful for your time. And my ever wonderful supporting mama, Mrs. Kadafa, you've been a mentor and you've been a support system. I thank you so much. I thank all the speakers from Mr. Richard, Mr. Ekerete, Mr. Olugbenga, Ms. Emore, and the Mrs. Folashade Joseph that came in to speak and share their wealth of knowledge with all of us. As the African Farmers Story, an initiative of Support for Africa, in December, we'll be organizing another webinar in collaboration with our partners in Netherlands on drones. Drones are the next thing for precision farming to occur in Africa. As we hold on to our cultural lands and we value them, commercializing most of these farms into big scales has been a difficult thing. But with drones, we will be able to do precision farming with our small farmlands and produce in bountiful harvests that are commensurable with other parts of the world. We look forward to partnership again as we are Oliver Twist with our Excellency to train more youths and women in the agricultural drone system so that we can adopt quickly artificial intelligence in supporting agriculture. I know that it will be of great honor to have our Excellency to be the pioneer of drone for agriculture in Nigeria. We look forward to having all of you December 17th as we launch that webinar in collaboration with our partners. Thank you once again to everyone who took our time to attend this 3-day webinar. as we will send you your certificate of attendance, because we value your time and we're grateful that you took out that time to learn something from everyone that came to speak at this webinar. Thank you very much. As I hand over to Her Excellency to officially close this 3-day session, God bless you all.
Thank you very much, Victoria. That was very well said indeed. And I'm sure everybody is looking forward to the series on the drones. I mean, we've seen how far we've come with drone technology in different spheres. We use it a lot in the entertainment industry, and I'm sure now to use it for precision farming is something that would be so amazingly well received, because as we know, that, you know, with the capital that we're talking about, it's important not to have you know, too many mistakes when you're getting involved in your farming. So precision farming is obviously something that would be very, very interesting to a lot of people. What can I say? I'd like to thank the moderator. You know, you've done an amazing job today, and you even made some things, you even simplified some of the topics that were said here today. And to the two speakers, Mr. Shade and Mrs. Lolo, thank you so much for doing justice to those topics. You know, it was very interesting, and as you can see, I'm still here, glued to my seat. You've given me a lot to think about, and I'm sure to all our participants as well. I got a couple of questions from people asking about, you know, what training sessions we will be doing in Kwara, and I tried to put something up on the chat to tell you that in December we will be having something with Leadway Assurance to sort of train people in agribusiness on how to insure their businesses. I think we all know the importance of insurance, which I said at the beginning of this webinar. Thank you all so much for participating today. We look forward to bringing you more series on agribusiness, and I'm sure you all join in December for the drones one. I'm particularly interested in that, and of course I would love to pioneer that. So thank you all, one and all, for joining. Have a good Sunday, and next time I'll be sure to tell everybody, because I told some people to join us at 4 o'clock, forgetting that the UK is 1 hour behind behind Nigeria. So I apologize to those people who tuned in an hour late. And next time I'll be sure to make sure that I convey the message on all continents to tell them the time to join. Africa Farmer Series, please bear that in mind as well. Thank you all so much. Thanks for joining. I thank you all. Good day.
Thank you. I just want to before we sign off, just also to thank the team behind making this happen, Oluchi, Hileri, Felix, and everyone, you know, the most important people who've also ensured that people hear about this, yeah? And I look forward to seeing you all in Kwara State very soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take good
Thank
care.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you indeed.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye. Please do follow us on our social media, The African Farmer's Story, to get more insight of what we do, and join our community on Telegram. Bye-bye.
Well said. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.